You're live. And wait, you're live, you know?
Well, I'm live right now.
Yeah, so stop making funny faces.
No funny faces.
You goofball.
I can't make any funny faces.
No. That was tape 169 that we listened to.
I thought I wrote that on here.
Did you?
I don't see it now.
Let me look. 169. Oh my god, look, Sawyer's live. Sawyer's live.
Oh, I did write it. And I wasn't going all the way up. Yeah, this was recorded. The tape, Old School Dave, he wins the prize.
What's
if
the
there's
prize?
a prize. The prize is a visit from our friendly little friend here.
Okay, you gotta put that back so it's propping the phone. It's on the side of it. I was trying to...
Hello, Old School Dave and Jeff Barnes and
Oh, hey, Jeff.
Nod. Hello. Well, we just finished working, so
There's another
Kathy and I are
film
together tonight.
We're together every night.
Working, yes, but we're
Not
working together. So we listened to a tape on the way to town to do our
like
job.
40 minutes of it.
Right, 40 minutes of the tape, and it was tape number 169, and it was recorded on October 26th, 1984, and it was about frequencies coming from the next level.
Well, coming from T and Do.
Coming from T and Do, but T and Do are from the next level, so it's you know.
Yeah, but I feel like there should be a differentiation. Like Doe said, that you guys weren't getting frequencies from the next level. You were getting frequencies from them.
Yeah, because they were present. So
Like
they were the instruments. They're the instruments of the frequencies. And they didn't describe, you know.
Oh, I don't want to get started.
Well, I mean, what they were talking about, I don't claim to understand 100%. Maybe I understand it 50%. I'd be lucky, I guess. But it is real. It's a scientific description to some degree of frequencies, and so I'm not going to try to describe that any further, but just that's the terminology they chose to use. But it is talking about something that's real. That's all I can really say about it. It's not imaginary. But T started off the tape by saying that the frequencies will come in and help you comprehend that we can only learn from next level mind, from receiving it. So we're not able to comprehend that mind unless we bring in more. So how do we get the mind, right? Well, we get it through their teachings, what they give us every time they meet with us. And if we're not, of course, if they're not here, then we're getting it by reading what they wrote and listening to the tapes that they made and the videos that they made. We're getting that frequency. It's just like when Jesus said, that he was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. And that everybody that does what he gave us to do was his disciple, was his student. And I believe that, right now, the same situation exists after Jesus left, pretty much, that existed now as after Jesus left, which is after T&O left. But with more information, more frequencies have been given to us. But those frequencies don't do us any good unless we apply them. And how do we apply them? Well, we have to come to understand what they're teaching. And we have to get it into our heads. And then use those teachings. Okay, so as we're doing that, then those teachings they become ours. We own them. They become part of us. It's not the same thing as reading a book about something. Well, but that would be up to human kingdom, because the books, unless it was a book about T&O's teachings, because they came from the next level above human. And so they were being given pieces of information a little bit at a time in order to give to those that would become their students that little bit at a time, because don't compare those pieces of information with like building a house, and each piece of information is like the boards of the house, the lumber of the house, and the nails of the house, or pieces of information. And that they didn't become a house until you started to put the pieces together. And you don't know how to put the pieces together. Continue to take in those pieces, make them your own, and comprehending them. And so made often, but they didn't make it a requirement very often to do that, because it needed to be free will. If they made it to where we had to do it, every day we listen to an audio tape, that might have some value, but it's not the way of the next level to impose on people like that. Because it has to come from us. If we're not putting out the effort that it takes to stimulate listening to them, we're not going to get the benefit from it. You might get some benefit from it if you don't do that, but you won't get the kind of benefit that you can get by doing it. That's why the perfect example of that is that Kathy and I listened to that tape today, and we both knew that it was fantastic information, even though I was sitting there at the time when they were talking about it. But it was almost like new information for me, because
burn those big piles of trees they fell.
Yes.
It looks scary.
Because even though I did receive some next level mind while I was in the classroom, everybody doesn't receive the same amount of next level mind. The same frequencies are available, but we all have different capacity of how much we can receive and apply. I'm not saying that because it's like even in the next level, T&O were describing that like Joe used the analogy of, like, let's say you receive 30 pounds of mind, and every student received 30 pounds of mind from the next level. But that 30 pounds of mind is made up of, well, what people receive in that is different elements. Those are the words he used. Within that 30 pounds. And so that one person in other words, let's see, all members of the next level are of the same mind, but not robots. But if you're in the next level longer and you're working as hard as everybody else, then you all have different degrees of next level mind, frequencies.
Well, you said experience too.
Experience, right.
Someone had been around longer and get more experience, or have more experiences. They could volunteer.
Right. Experience is the key word there, that's for sure. Because I remember when they said that time in the next level wasn't the determination of what somebody became, because they only become what they have experienced, what they have gained, the ways that, the degrees in which they have gained experience. And experience is what gives people judgment. Okay, so and gives you next level judgment if your experience is with the next level, so that you potentially have more wisdom, and that wisdom equates to that better judgment than somebody who doesn't take all that information in and apply it, understand it, digest it, put it together as a house, the nails and the different parts of the information, the different parts of the frequencies, and some will do a more thorough job of that than others. In different departments, some will be better than others at certain aspects of it. And that's why its growth in the next level continues. And everybody is unique in that respect, but everybody has the same mind going through them, because they want to continue to grow by pulling in the mind of their older members. Because the older members have more experience than we have. A lot more experience, because they've been members of the next level for a long time, in which they've been, not a matter of the time, but the degree in which they were trying to grow and learn lessons and have more experiences, doing more tasks that the older members keep on giving to the students and the younger members, yields more and more judgment, so that by the time that an individual is ready to graduate into the next level knows that they can be trusted to put the effort out to find solutions to problems that would be the same solutions that their older members would come up with, given the current circumstances. And so when they come up with the same things that the older members would have come up with to solve a problem, then they gain more experience, they gain more wisdom, and then they're ready for more. And until you, and so like when we're in the stage that we're in now, to where, I mean, some people are just coming to this information, even though they have a soul with them, because each of us have a soul that is seeking to totally control the vehicle. That's who we really are. If the next level gave us that capacity, and like Doe said in Doe's Final Exit, that even showing curiosity in T and Doe's information and their story and things like that is one reason that the next level may choose to give that individual a soul deposit, so that they can grow that soul more and more dense, more and more energetic, to have more and more next level frequencies in it, more and more judgment that is next level judgment. I'm not talking about judging people, I'm talking about judging circumstances. Trying to come up with next level solutions to things, and seeing through things that are not true. Like, for instance, somebody, I think Daniel, I forgot his last name that he uses. I think he was in a stream the night before last. Daniel Mills, yeah, and he sent me, I asked him to send me the part of the Heaven's Gate documentary that he saw that talked about as if it was an instruction that came from the next level that was meant to go to the classroom, and it said that the Hale Bob comet or something, the companion that was with it, was canceled, was postponed, and so they should not eat the pudding. Okay, so he sent me this document that had these words in it, that made it look like it was instruction from the next level. And I knew right from the beginning, I was looking at it, that it had nothing to do with the next level. Now, that's not obvious, that's pretty obvious. To me, anyway, it's obvious that that wasn't next level mind in that it was lower forces trying to, use that, play a joke on people with that, as if they didn't know what they were doing by exiting their vehicles. They knew exactly what they were doing. Because if I was there with them, which I had intended to be there with them, I would have known exactly what I was doing as well. Because I know that these vehicles aren't, they're vehicles. They're not who we really are, except to the degree that we have to still overcome our humanness. Because that's not who we are. That's who our vehicles have been programmed to be. And we're responsible for that programming. And that programming helps us because it gives us the tools to build our minds through recognizing as characteristics that we don't want to have anymore. I don't know if that's making sense, but...
So Matthew Carey is here.
Oh, Matthew.
And Mr. UFO guy is here.
Mr. UFO Joe guy, yes. Hello.
He was going to see Carlodia.
Is you gonna go see him?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. You've seen him a number of times.
Yeah.
Met up with him.
Jeff's the one who suggested that you guys should meet because
Right.
Carlotti wasn't a bad guy.
I know. I remember that. And you were trying to encourage us to get together. And I wasn't against it, but I wasn't for it either. So, it wasn't.
Well, at that time we weren't getting sued together, so it didn't really seem like it was.
Right. We didn't. We have a lot in common, of course, because we both believe in T&O, and that's who they are. And we're both, students that didn't make the passing grade, and so we have a tremendous amount in common, really. But I never really had anything against Carlotti as a person, but we went through our back and forth many times with him interested, commenting on things I would do and my doing things and talking about things in ways that he helped me correct, and then in some ways he would talk about things that I didn't feel weren't needed a correction on my part when I examined it. But I've apologized to him and for things that I could have said more like a member of the next level, and he's apologized to me in the same way. And it doesn't mean we're going to see eye to eye now about everything, but we're working together now. But it's not a conspiracy. If Mark and Sarah's lawyers are listening to this, because they claimed it was a conspiracy. Kathy doesn't want me to go off on that. I won't, because I really don't want to.
Well, we want to talk about this tape because it was really, really good.
Yeah, well, I think I've kind of gone through most of the gist of it, but I can go over it more.
The part where Joe was talking about that he would get a headache.
Oh, yeah, okay. Right, and when Junoni brought up the question of how she felt like she was really full of a lot of energy after a meeting, right? And then when she went to sleep, she woke up and she didn't feel it anymore. And so T&O related to that, and they talked about how when we're receiving the frequencies from the next level, like during a meeting, or applicable to now when you're listening to tapes, like Kathy and I were listening to this tape, 169, this on the way to work. If you're really trying to, absorb it and receive it, it's a challenge. At the same time, it's like going to church. When that's the only thing you think you have in order to feel like you have some communion with what what I call the next level, what T&O call the next level. But other people call, the Muslims and the religion. This isn't appropriate to be referring to it this way, I don't think, because T&O once took us to a church in Houston, Texas. We went to a service, I think it was the Christmas service. The whole class went, but we were only probably in the numbering in the 30s at that point. There was a big cathedral, and there were a lot of people there, so it kind of blended in, We didn't make it obvious that we were all together. But we went in there, and one of the things Doe said about it, going to a church was the second time we ever did that, over 19 years, so it's not like we always went to church. But T&O did whatever they felt like they had instructions to do with the class. So bringing us to church might have been a test for some people at for other people, it might have been just, a pleasant experience. But one of the things I learned from that was Doe's view that sometimes that's the best thing somebody can think to do to try to feel close to God, their understanding of God. So it's not a bad thing. He could feel the reverence of those big churches that were built with those high ceilings and the architecture and the sound and everything. So that wasn't approving of everything that happened there, because there's a lot to be, there's a lot of misinformation going on in the church. It's a sidetrack I can bring up, but I won't bring it up.
Please.
All right. So if you want to see the sidetrack, go to my Sawyer Heaven's Gate page and look at my last post. And you'll see a little bit of a sidetrack that talks about the Catholic indulgences, relationship to the new religions that are developing as we speak in the human kingdom. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about it. Those are my opinions about it. So, let's see if we can find my notes where you're talking about that. Junodi, where are you, Junodi? I know I wrote your name down here. I get a lot of notes.
She said that she would get a signal that they needed to come give a meeting.
Right, like before this meeting, and where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, so Doug said, sure, talking about the force that Junodi felt after the meeting, and then how it dissipated when she woke up the next morning. And she was asking about what was going on there. And Doug said, yes. He said, let's say we got the material boards and nails prior to coming to the meeting. He was talking about him and T before they came to the meeting that they were talking about, or in a lot of meetings this happens with them. It was only like 15 minutes before they called the craft to say that they wanted to have a meeting. And T brought it up to Doe, the idea of having a meeting. What do you think about going over to the craft? And Doe had a headache, or he got a headache at that point, right?
He said sometimes he would get headaches.
Yeah, sometimes he would get headaches. And then he come to recognize that
it was his vehicle.
Yeah, I want to think about the best way to say that. Maybe I wrote it down.
That it was his body trying to tell him, he felt bad. He didn't want to go give a meeting.
Right. It felt like, right, at first he didn't want to go to the craft to give a meeting because he felt like he had such a bad headache. But then he realized that that the headache was his vehicle responding to the frequencies, and that it was a big help for him to go to the craft and give those frequencies to the students through their whatever they had to talk about, which they were describing for anybody that just came into the stream. He was describing as the different pieces of information that they would bring to a meeting were or like the parts of the house that they were building, that the students were building. And so one meeting they would come and they would give you the nails. And when you would go home from that meeting or go back to your quarters and do your own thing after that meeting, your task was to go over and over that material, those nails, and not be concerned about how to put them together with other pieces of information. But that would be part of the process, that you would be putting things together, but you just want to absorb each piece. And so that another time you have a meeting where they would give you the boards that were used to build a certain room, let's say, to put it in those analogy terms. I'm not sure how to say that. But, and so then you'd be adding to it. Don't also compare it to like a song or a tune, to where there are different parts of the tune that you were being given. I mean, originally Tiendo talked about the lesson plans as a piano roll, and that everything you learned was each piece of that learning experience was like one note on the piano, and that you would always remember as you're learning the notes, when you got a new note, you would play the whole song in your mind. You wouldn't just forget about the previous notes. You'd be building, you knew that you were building a song. And this is very interesting because of Revelation chapter 14, where it says that the 144,000 have learned the song. And there was the song of Moses, and there was, I think it wasn't called this, but it was the song of Jesus, and the song of Tiendo, which I believe, what was that?
Song of Solomon, those were the Psalms.
Yeah, right, the Psalms of Solomon. I mean, there were a number of the good Psalms that I believe that Doe referred to a few times. I think Psalm 91, something about the Most High, and the mountain that Doe was particularly fond of. But the Psalms aren't.
It's called the Song of Solomon.
Well, Solomon is the one that put together the Psalms.
Right.
Right. But the Psalms, there's over 100 Psalms.
I know, I'm not talking about that.
Right. I don't know what the particular Song of Solomon is.
I don't either.
I've heard it that talked about too. But that's in the Catholic. They've got some materials in the Catholic Bible that aren't in the King James Bible. And we never use those in the classroom or referred to them.
I'm saying you're talking about biblical Psalms.
Biblical Psalms. Yeah, well, see, I think it's all related. The reason why they were talking about things in terms of songs is because that's the analogy that they were using, because songs are frequencies. Our voices are also putting out frequencies. Sound waves are frequencies. And they told us that the next level communicates with us through radio frequencies. But there are radio frequencies of the radio spectrum that humans don't know how to receive or transmit. I guess they don't. And the reason why humans don't know about those radio frequencies, that band of radio frequencies, is because the next level didn't give them that ability to understand them. Where the next level did give them the ability to understand the waves of the bands of radio waves that we know about, that we use, humans use. But this way, you can see the advantage of the next level not giving humans that, because then humans cannot interfere with the next level's communication and the frequencies that the next level is sending to people. However, I believe that there are degrees of interference that the Luciferians, the space alien fallen angel souls, do impose on human kingdom, and Tiendo called that bombardment. And it's interesting that they use the word bomb, but it's a bombardment because they're just like, forcing it on you, and they're sending those signals and those frequencies also, but they're not next level frequencies, because they're not teaching you next level behaviors and ways that can help you towards graduation. But the provision of those frequencies are what we use the next level teachings to block from our consciousness, like negativity, for instance. Like we've talked about before, and Kathy's been a part of those discussions that we've had in past tapes, that there is no laboratory for negativity in the next level. I don't know if there's a laboratory for positivity, or if it's just, or maybe that's what Tiendo are. They're part of the laboratory from headquarters that gives positivity. Because Tiendo were never about accepting defeat, or accepting weakness, or accepting lack of goodness, which is another big topic of the frequencies that we are all developing, hopefully developing. And that is in how we treat one another. And you can go back to the teachings from Jesus and get a pretty good idea of how in that earlier grade school, we were being required to learn how to treat one another in ways that were beyond human. Because in the human kingdom, because of the bombardment from the lower forces, it's thought to be normal and even beneficial and even, justifiable to treat people in totally animalistic ways that are even worse than the way animals treat each other. Because at least animals, when they kill each other, they're mostly doing it either to protect their young, which you could say humans are doing that, but it's a big stretch the way that humans do it, and or to eat, right? That's and even to protect their young, I don't know that they necessarily kill. They try, to try to keep whoever's trying to kill their children. They try to stop it from happening and win the battle. And I've been watching some videos on YouTube that show some of the battles between lions and water buffalo, and when the lions are trying to get the young or the old, and how other water buffalo come to the rescue a lot of times to help against the lions, and the water buffalo actually stands a chance against the lion. I wouldn't have thought that they could. It's like the next level provides ways for everybody to be able to find ways of defeating their enemy. And if they don't and they lose their vehicle, they still learn from the experience. you know, in the animal kingdom, it's a different type of learning. I mean, it becomes part of the animal spirit, I think. I'm getting off the track, but I think these are all like related pieces of information that T and Do gave, because they gave us a lot of sticks and a lot of lumber and a lot of nails and screws and all different kinds of material to use to build our next level house, to build our mind, to build the soul mind into a potential member of the next level. Now, what more about that energy and the headaches? Well, T said that at the moment that she was given a meeting in this tape 169 and other meetings, she felt so strongly about sometimes they receive new information while they're in the meeting. And they feel like they're so wired by receiving that new information that they can hardly sit in their chairs. And when they leave the meeting, they are, they know that they're just like, you know, plugged in. I'm using that terminology because I've related to that. And I felt that also after meetings. And I actually feel it to some degree when I listen to tapes. And it's also, it takes a certain toll on the vehicle. And it wears off to where, like Doe said, that when he would wake up the next morning, he wouldn't feel it anymore. And T said that that's because he absorbed it.
No, that's what Junodi said.
I thought T chimed in at one point and said that too, but maybe I didn't hear her right.
I just remember Junodi's the one that said that she didn't feel it the next morning.
Yeah, that part.
Doe said that's because your vehicle absorbed it.
Right, that's what I was saying. That your
Not
vehicle.
that Doe said that. He woke up and didn't feel it anymore. I don't recall him saying that. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that exactly right.
But I don't recall him saying
That, but I think it's the same principle that I don't doubt that Doe and T both have to wake up in the morning and have to bring that mind back into them. Maybe T doesn't have to do that. I don't know.
Well, I recall
but Doe did have to do that.
I recall from earlier tapes them saying that their minds were always with them, even while they were sleeping.
Well, didn't Doe say in this one that when he got up, he recognized that he was prone to negative thinking?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I wrote it
Could be
down.
wrong, but
No, I wrote it down.
I don't remember that.
We'll go listen to it again to be sure.
Yeah, I wanted to listen to it over again anyway.
I'll see if I can find it in my notes.
I don't recall him saying that.
Okay, Doe said, Tolodi said, didn't know if it had dissipated, okay? And then Doe said, it's not dissipated the next morning. You have used it. There is there is very little mind left in the vehicle when it's at rest. You have to consciously bring that charge back in.
What the hell did I have to turn over?
You have to bring that charge back
Can you
in.
be quiet? I got something stuck under the car. It's probably a branch.
All right. Well, I want to finish this sentence. You have to consciously bring that charge back in. It's not there automatically. You will be stumbling around with human responses to things if you don't bring in your next level mind every morning. Then Doe said, I was shocked in the morning when I saw I was quite capable of having negative responses, so that I knew I had to force that mind back in to bring that energy back in, and that knowledge to hammer in those nails and boards to bring that charge as you go back over it, to bring that charge back in as you go back over it. this has to be a conscious effort. And then T said, you might not feel the charge you felt from the night before because you adjusted to it. You have to put it into action, and it's not worth anything if not put to use. It's like a bag of talents, and it dissipates and someone else uses it up. Fortunately, using it doesn't happen automatically. You do your task. When you are being good, you are doing your task, accomplishing when you need to accomplish on your strain. If you are allowing that thought and action to occur, that's the key. All right, well, I guess we don't have time to go the rest of it, but we'll continue, I guess, another time.
I responded to all the comments.
All right. Good night, folks.